Welcome to another exciting Austin Eagles basketball night here at the Harold Regal Gymnasium. Mike Barrett along with Dave Deaton. And tonight it's the Eagles taking on the Pioneers of Providence. Austin comes into the game with a 1-1 record in this contest. And stay with us. Make sure you stay with us throughout the evening. At halftime this evening, we are going to honor some of Austin High School's former coaches that have resigned from coaching positions here in the last school year. So we'll be doing that at halftime this evening. It's Austin and Providence, and welcome to the Scott County Community Channel, Channel 25 here locally for tonight's Indiana High School basketball game between Austin and Providence. Of course, the Pioneers out of Clarksville, Indiana. Providence leads the all-time series with Austin at 16-11, and they won last year, Dave Deaton, 57-46.
Should be an interesting game. It's been a pretty close contest for a couple of years with Providence and Austin in the men's basketball program. As we said, we have a new coach at Providence because Joe Hinton was coaching last year and he's no longer there. And the Eagles again have a new coach as well. So it could be an interesting night.
Joe Hinton, if you missed it over the summer, folks, was forced out at Providence in the midst of turmoil there regarding rules, infractions of the IHSAA, and we're not sure exactly what those infractions were. It did have something to do with recruiting. Of course, Providence is a private school, but not only does it affect them from their coaching ranks, but also Providence is not eligible for sectional play this year as well, and I think that's a 2-year suspension, wasn't it, Dave?
I think it was a one.
One?
But that's a big penalty. And likewise, anytime schools handle money, there's misappropriation there with student fees and access like that. When it's a private school, you open up a can of worms when you have hardships and other things because you have recruiting involved in it.
And of course, they brought Joe Hinton, who had set out a couple of years after coaching at Floyd Central for 30-plus years, and an Indiana legendary basketball coach, Joe Hinton. I'm sure someday he'll be in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
Without a doubt, he will be. And, we had our former coach, Larry Schellenberg, who played for him and who went back and was Joe's assistant coach when he was dismissed. And Larry even took his place for a couple of years down at Floyd Central.
Speaking of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, I'd just like to say to our viewers this evening across the area that former Scottsburg basketball coach Jim Barley was elected to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame just here in the last few days. And I want to say congratulations to Jim Barley, of course, a legendary coach himself. Many people thought he should have been put in that Hall of Fame years ago, but he's in there now.
Yes, I don't know what they were waiting on because Jim Barley, it was, like you said, basically a legend in Southern Indiana, because he was so intense and he brought a style of play to Scottsburg, and they are still running that style of play right now because what he set the tone and set the table, he did a great job.
And again, we want to say congratulations to Coach Barley and his family. That induction ceremony will be sometime in late March. As an Austin player, I played against Barley's teams, and boy, he was a pretty intense guy. And Dave, he started out at Marion High School. He was the first player in Marion High School basketball history to score 1,000 points in the history of that basketball program. And think about the great, great players they've had up there.
Yes, and likewise, when he was older, he was playing these kids one-on-one,
right,
and beating them. And if Jim, if you're out there listening to us, we could be at Dory's tomorrow, and you could pick up the bill for that breakfast.
There you go. And Jim Barley also played at Indiana University, 4 years there under Branch McCracken. So congratulations to the former Scottsburg coach. That's a great honor.
Yes, it is. It is great for Southern Indiana and Scott County.
Some other basketball notes of interest this week. The Austin Lady Eagles won one and lost one this week. They won Monday night at Crothersville and lost Wednesday night at home to Charlestown. Anthony Winchester, he is off to a red-hot start for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, Dave Deaton. He was named the SBC, the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week earlier this week, and on the day he was named that, he went out and got 19 points and 8 rebounds and 3 assists in a win over Southeast Missouri. Western is off to a fast start at 4-0, but Anthony Winchester is playing some great basketball.
Yes, he is. I just can't tell you how thrilled I am that I'm going down this Wednesday to watch him play in the Eastern Kentucky Western Kentucky game, and I can't wait to see him play in person in there. And that gymnasium is filled now, Mike. They're drawing good crowds there, and Western is a very exciting basketball team. And Anthony, without a doubt, one of the most exciting players to ever play at Austin High School.
Well, yes, I would certainly agree with that.
He's just got every rebound, every possession. He did everything.
Dave, this rivalry between the two schools, 27 games prior to coming in tonight, Providence leading the all-time series 16-11. There was a period for about close to 20 years where the two schools didn't play each other over a ruckus that happened all the way back in 1972. I'm sure you remember that. I was pretty young, but I do remember it was a scary moment right here in this high school gymnasium when a fight broke out on the floor and adults poured onto the floor back in 72. I'm sure there's a lot of people viewing that remember that night. And I think one of the funny things about that evening is when Tom Sexton asked the band to play the national anthem and the band had already left, Tom gets up and starts singing the national anthem on the PA system.
Yes, I do remember Tom. I mean, Tom was quick-witted, boy, and what a basketball fan and what a basketball family. Not only him, but all of his sons, great people. But Tom was here. That was a great game. I think Austin ended up hitting after the technicals, and he threw out a couple of players. Carl Smith got tossed out for Austin, and the Smith kid got tossed out for Providence, who went on to Bellarmine. And I think Jimmy Blanton and Bert Sexton hit like 43 free throws that night because they called a foul every time they come down the floor. There was nothing going to happen again.
And Austin ended up winning 89-88 in overtime. And back in those days, they had a traveling bucket that went around the state of Indiana, and somehow that bucket could end up anywhere depending on who won a game. And Jeffersonville had played in a tournament earlier that year and beat a team up north where the bucket was at. And Providence ended up beating Jeffersonville right before they came to Austin, and Austin beat Providence that night and actually had that bucket here for a while.
I tell you, Austin had a great team that year, Mike. That was an outstanding bunch of players, and it was just a great thing. I thought you might have been talking about, I was going back a little bit farther, back in the 67, maybe 66, we had a ruckus down at Providence down there, and when Coach Whitaker was coaching in that game. And I think Hamill was coaching the game. Who was the coach?
Whitaker. It was Carl Smith's junior year.
Okay. Whitaker again. And
so are you blaming the two ruckuses on Jim Whitaker?
I'll tell you what, Jim was a competitor too. There's nobody who wanted to play harder than Jim Whitaker.
Folks, we need to take a break, and we'll tell you that you're watching Austin Eagles basketball on the Scott County Community Channel. It's Austin and Providence, and as I said earlier, we will be honoring some of our former high school coaches here at halftime. It'll be Dan Deaton, who was a coach here at Austin from 71 through 2004. Kevin Owens, who coached 10 years. Teresa Barrett, who was the cheerleader coach for over 20 years as well. And Charlie Fraley, a 3-year cheerleader coach, along with Ben Watts, who coached various sports. His main sport, baseball, and was a junior varsity coach on the 85 Lady Eagles team that went all the way to the Final Four. Barry Parks, a 30-year track coach, and Andy Watts, a 33-year track cross-country coach as well. And then Dave Deaton, who was a 31-year coach as well. I want to tell you something about Andy Watts. Andy Watts coached his sport, cross-country, longer than any other coach has coached a single sport in the history of Scott County sports. Quite an accomplishment that he coached the same sport for 31 years, or 33 years. 33.
That is amazing. I mean, Andy loved it, and he did it with a passion that most people can't do, because cross country is a very, very rough sport to coach and to recruit kids to play. I mean, you know, you're talking running 10 miles, and people are interested to do it. All of them have done a lot for the community, Mike. Not only have they coached, but most of these guys have lived here and raised their families here and done very well. Kevin's the youngest coach in the deal, and he transferred up here from Scottsburg. His junior year in high school, played on the Eagles team after his senior year. He coached the 8th grade team that won the Scottsburg tournament a couple of years ago with Anthony Winchester. Their invitational, that I think it's the only school from Austin that's ever won that. Dan, big brother, mommy's favorite, would make no doubt about that either. Went to the state final, was second, coming runner-up that year. Andy's coached #1 cross-country runner in the state, Jonathan White, who's now taking Andy's place, which is just a tremendous thing. Ben coached Eagles' first sectional win in baseball, I believe. So, those guys have been around a long time, and they've done a lot for the community.
And Dave, speaking of these types of ceremonies, we want you to mark your calendar, folks. Help me out here, Dave. The 1985 Austin Lady Eagles and the 1985 Austin Eagles. Of course, that's the group with Jody Whitaker and Tina Reese, as far as the Lady Eagles go, that went all the way to the Final Four in open class basketball. And then just a few weeks later, the Austin Eagles of 1985, led by Jerry Gooden's senior year and a group of great basketball players on that team, went all the way to the semi-state, but won the Seymour Regional and the Madison Sectional that year. And Dave, when is that? That is that the 27th of January?
I think so. And at that time, I think that's the greatest amount of athletes that Austin High School ever had at one time on the 85 team, because, both of those groups, we had 3 Indiana Girl All-Stars, and 2 of them are on that team. And from a school of Austin's size, that's just a tremendous honor.
When Jody Whitaker and Tina Reese graduated back in 85, they were number 1 and 4 in the Indiana all-time scoring list, and that's pretty phenomenal.
Yes, it is. I know, that the schedule, today, it changes. Like,
right.
Some teams are tougher, some teams are not. But, boy, that's quite an accomplishment for both of them. Jody went on to go to my favorite school down at University of Kentucky, and Tina went down to Eastern Kentucky. So, we've had those girls had a great year, great success stories. The boys, led by Jerry and Terry Gooden, very successful in themselves. Jerry went down to Eastern Kentucky like his sister did. And, Mike, Lisa Gooden is, I think, still the all-time leading scorer in Lady Eastern Kentucky history, which is quite an accomplishment, and one of the best free throw shooters that we've ever seen.
And led the nation, as you said, down there in free throw shooting. And I think at one time she was the all-time assist leader down there as well. And Jody ended up her career when she graduated from UK, of course, the all-time assist leader at UK as well.
And you remember the time we had Lisa and Steve Alford here in the gym here?
Yes.
And they were both the leading free throw shooters in the nation. Quite an honor.
I do remember that, Dave. And we've got a big game coming up here tonight, and a big day on Sunday, Dave. Mike Trulock turns 64 years old.
64.
So.
I always knew he was a little older than me.
Yep.
And he may have a little more hair than me. I don't know about that, but, it's close.
We want to say happy birthday, too.
Well, we've had a correction on the age, but I think 64 sounds good to me.
Yeah, honest mistake, though. He's only 54, but again, an honest mistake. And, I think he could have passed for 64, though, don't you, Dave?
I thought he was already retired. I thought Mr. Gooden said he'd already quit, and I didn't know. But I saw him walk through the hall the other day. By the way, Susie Caldwell, first grade teacher's birthday today. Brittany Smith's birthday is today, Lady Eagle. There's Krista Dismore on the screen there. She is a great Anthony Winchester fan, Mike. She goes down all the time.
Folks, we're going to go down to the floor now for our national anthem.
In the gymnasium for tonight's playing of our national anthem, performed by the Austin High School Band on the direction of Mr. Raymond Bruce III. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Austin High School and the Harold Regal Gymnasium for another exciting night of basketball action. We'd first like to take this opportunity to welcome our visiting team tonight, the Providence Pioneers. They will be taking on our very own Austin Eagles. Your starting line for tonight's game, first for Providence. Starting in a forward position, a 6'3" sophomore, number 15, Justin Benedetti. Also at forward, a 5'10" senior, number 23, Jonathan Lilly. Starting at center, a 6'4" senior, number 51, Max McCrite. Starting at one guard, a 6' junior, number 3, Kevin Miller. And starting at the other guard, a 6' sophomore, number 11, Luke Fitzgerald. Your assistant coaches for the Providence Pioneers, Brian Mayfield, Ryan Miller, and the head coach is Louis Lefevre. Now your starters tonight for your very own Austin Eagles. Starting at a guard position, a 5'11" senior, number 23, Donnie Chambers. Starting at center tonight, a 6'8" senior, number 13, Jeremy Holland. Starting at a guard position, a 5'10" senior, number 14, Derek Eldridge. Also at a guard position, a 6' senior, number 21, Josh Coomer. And also at guard, a 6'1" junior, number 31, Tyler Peterson. Assistant coach for the Eagles, Walt Witten, Doc Nash, and David Huffman. Your head coach for Austin is Mr. Ron Hahn. Your officials tonight, Joe Calderazzo from Washington, Indiana, and Wayne Patterson from Washington also. Reminder to all fans, please remain seated while the game is in progress and show sportsmanship to fellow fans, players, coaches, and officials. Thank you.
Well, we're just about ready to get this one underway. And it looks like Holland will jump it up against McCrite for the Pioneers. Eagles at 1-1. They've had a win over Crothersville and a loss to Scottsburg. They've won on the road and lost at home.
Eagles had a good accounting for themselves in the Scottsburg game, Mike. I thought they played pretty well and had a chance to win that game. And Scottsburg, one of the favorites in the Mid-Southern.
Tips up control to the Pioneers. And that is Miller with it down on the baseline. He drives, shoots over Holland and missed everything. And Holland gets the rebound while laying on the floor. Here's Peterson. That may be the easiest rebound he sees tonight. And there's a steal by Providence and then a foul by Ty Peterson.
Couldn't measure the vertical on that last jump, though, laying flat.
So a foul on Austin.
Eagles open up in a man-to-man.
Shot on the way, good. Benedetti with the basket, and Providence scores first. They won the game last year, 57-46. It was played down at Providence. Here's Josh Coomer. Coomer with the top of the key. Over to Peterson. Peterson with it left side. Down low to Chambers. Chambers with it back to the basket. Picks his dribble up on the baseline and spits it back out front to Peterson. Here's Holland working with it behind the three-point line. He never took a three-pointer in the Scottsburg game. Here's Coomer. Head fake. Jump shot at the free throw line, and it's blocked. But Chambers picks it up and fires good.
Basket by Donnie Chambers.
Donnie Chambers had a great game against Scottsburg 9 days ago, Dave, when he scored 30 points.
Yes, he plays, and he plays so hard. Just look at the intensity on his face. He's playing good defense and good help side defense right now, too. You can see where he's at.
Basket by Kevin Miller.
There's Miller with a three-point bomb, or a two-pointer, I guess.
Two.
I thought it was
Only
a three, but they gave him a two. So it's 4-2 Pioneers. And here's Derek Eldridge. Providence is a little more athletic than what I expected them to be, Dave. Here's Jeremy Holland with the left side, and there's a steal. Terrible pass by Holland. Benedetti down, back to Miller. Holland deflects it, and the Pioneers are having trouble with it on the other end. Holland blocks it, and Chambers is with it off to the races right side. Pulls up into paint, shot up off the board, no good, and the rebound to Providence. Here's Miller again out front. He challenges Peterson defensively, and then he backs it off with it and gets over on the left side to Fitzgerald. Spits it back out front. Benedetti, Miller, head fake, drive down the lane, and he traveled with the basketball.
He gave him the travel. Good break for the Eagles there. He got bumped going around the lane, but they called him for traveling. Pioneers have opened up in a full court press.
Here's Coomer within the backcourt. Holland's got it left side. Over to Chambers. Chambers with it. Peterson right side to Coomer out behind the arc. He drives on the baseline. Threw a pass without looking over his head. It's a easy steal for Providence. And now here's McCright with it, and he goes into the lane, and a foul on Austin. That's the second team foul on Austin. The new coach for Providence is Louis Lefevre.
He bumped him going through the lane there. The Eagles have already had 3 turnovers so far in the early part of this game, Mike, and they can't afford to get into that turnover business that we had the other day. Eagles out of bounds play is man-to-man, looks like.
Pioneers trying to get it in. They do to Miller. He's got it, jump shot at the free throw line, good. And now Providence leading by a score of 6-2, and Miller's got 4 of them. Here's Coomer out front to Holland, puts it on the floor, over to Eldridge, long-range bomb, good. So Derek Eldridge nails a 3, and the Eagles down by 1 at 6-5. And here comes Providence that is Fitzgerald in the backcourt with a lot of pressure from Eldridge. Benedetti with it over to Miller. Miller again, this time way off with a shot. Chambers gets the rebound, looks up the floor. Peterson, left side to Coomer. Long-range bomb, and no good. And the rebound to Benedetti, and he fires it up left side to Miller. Miller with it back out front. Now long-range bomb, Benedetti, and he shot that one way out on the floor.
Downtown. Providence likes to play an up-tempo game. There's no doubt about that as a new coach. Because they are up and down the floor.
Here's Holland, shot, no good, out of bounds to Providence.
I think he tried to draw the foul there and just lost, didn't get the contact that he was looking for.
It's a slow start for both teams. Providence with 6 points though, and the Eagles with 5, and we've played nearly 4 minutes. And here's Providence with the basketball. And that's McCright. McCright with it out front, over to Benedetti. Now left side, over to Miller. Miller down the lane, shot good. Nobody picked him up, Dave.
I think he said, I got him, no, you got him.
And there's a steal by Providence. So the Eagles really struggling on the offensive end here in the first quarter. And now McCright has it. Miller pulls up on the baseline, out front to McCright. And there's a strip by Peterson. Over to Holland. Holland puts it on the floor, shot up, good, and a foul. Nice move by Holland.
Basket counts by Jeremy Holland.
Big guy just lost a handle on it for Providence last time and turned the ball over, and the Eagles took it, grabbed it, and took it the other way in a hurry. We have Josh Smith and Donald Connor coming in for Peterson and Eldridge with 3:30 to go in the first quarter. Providence ahead 8-7.
31. Brad Coons.
Here's Holland at the free throw line, and it is good. So Jeremy with 3 points on the night. And it's an 8-8 game. We've played 3.5 minutes. That's Collin with it in the backcourt. And now Miller's. Here's Colin, left-handed player, pulls up on the baseline, uses the backboard, no good, and the rebound to Josh Smith, and he goes down, and a foul on Providence.
It's a good rebound by Josh Smith. Mike, I think if Jeremy Holland can go to the free throw line a lot this year, then the Eagles have an excellent chance of winning, because therefore he's going to be inside and using his height to his greatest advantage, and he's going to pick up a lot of fouls and go to the free throw line.
That's a good point. He needs to get there 8 to 10 times a game for the Eagles to be really successful.
Because everybody else is kind of small.
He's got it on the outside and gets it over to Connor. Connor with it off to Josh Coomer now. And the Pioneers man-to-man. Here's Holland. Right back to Josh Coomer, and the ball's knocked loose on the floor, and a jump ball call.
Josh lost the handle there and luckily got it back for a jump ball. Possession arrow still in the Eagles' favor.
Holland's got it out front. He's in the corner with the basketball. Works it left side, finds Chambers at the free throw line. Here's Coomer with a long-range bomb. Good.
Three-pointer by Josh Coomer.
That's the second three-pointer of the night for the Austin Eagles, and they now lead 11-8.
That last play with Jeremy Holland's indicative of how the referees are going to call this thing, because he got pushed and bumped a couple times and didn't get the foul out in front. So they're going to let him play a little bit, I think.
Basket by Keelan Miller.
That's Miller with his 8th point of the night.
He's quick. He just takes it home and pulls up and hits that jumper.
He's got 8 of Providence's 10. Austin's scoring has been pretty well shared throughout the first quarter. 4 different players have scored. Here's Connor with it. Connor down right side to Jeremy Holland. Holland out front to Connor, over to Coomer. And another 3, good. Assist Connor that time. So Jared Coomer with 6 points on the Donald Connor assist, and the Eagles are picking up the pace a little bit and now lead by 4.
Donald Connor came in the other night and played a pretty good basketball against Scottsburg. He had a couple of good drives and the layups just didn't go down, but he's going to be a good competitor for the Eagles, just a sophomore.
Here's Colin trying to work it against Coomer, and it's knocked away from him, and Chambers has got it. And Chambers bounce pass out front. He went to Coomer, and it goes out of bounds. Should be Austin, but no, it's going to be Providence basketball, but that should be Eagles basketball.
Eagles basketball, because the other one kicked it out of bounds. If we had the instant replay.
But we don't need instant replay because the outside official came over and told him and said, listen,
I had a better look at it.
Well, I don't know if he said that, but he said it's going to be Austin basketball.
Yes. Yes, it is. They've made the right call. It's in the Eagles' favor.
Here's Eldridge. Over to Ty Peterson. Peterson with it, back to Eldridge. Right side to Donald Connor. And now Connor works it out front to Josh Smith and looks inside of Holland. They can't get it down there. Finally, they throw it in, and it's knocked away. And Providence has got a run out on the other end. The layup is good by number 31, Combs. And it's a 2-point game at 14-12.
Eagles were pretty patient with the basketball the last time. They just made a bad pass trying to get that thing inside of Jeremy Holland.
Here's Peterson. He's in trouble on the right side of the floor. Bounce pass to Eldridge at the free throw line. Uses the glass, and it wouldn't go. And the rebound to Providence. Boy, it's been a physical game, hasn't it?
There's been a lot of bumping and pushing in there, Mike, on both teams.
Here comes the Pioneers with it.